Hello everybody, this is Russell Lance back with Epic Pwnage Gaming News Week 2 NFL Recap. Let's dive right into it with the Thursday Night Football matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles did get the better of Minnesota Vikings in Week 2 of the 2023 season, beating them 34-28 on Thursday Night Football. The win takes the Eagles to a perfect 2-0 start, while the Vikings fall to a disastrous 0-2 start. Running back DeAndre Swift, though, stole the show for the Eagles as the Philadelphia Eagles native, or the Philadelphia native, rushed for a career-best 175 yards across 28 carries. On the Viking side, this loss shouldn't fall on the shoulders of quarterback Kirk Cousins in any way, shape, or form. He threw for 384 yards and 4 touchdowns despite dealing with constant pressure and multiple drops from his receivers. The offensive spotlight, though, while DeAndre Swift did run roughshot over the Vikings defense, it was Justin Jefferson who earned the higher grade on offense after PFF's initial review of the game film. Jefferson caught 11 of his 14 targets for 159 yards and 9 first downs, with 5 of those catches going for 15 or more yards. While he did lose a fumble, he offset that by coming down with 4 of his 6 contested targets. The defensive spotlight, though, goes to Eagles edge rusher John Sweat. He was a menace for an ill-equipped Vikings offensive line and produced 1 sack, 3 hits, and 2 hurries across his 30 pass rush snaps, according to PFF's initial review. The rookie spotlight, though, belongs to Vikings linebacker Ivan Pace Jr. He played 61 snaps, the bulk of which came in a run defense. However, he flashed his potential on 9 pass rush snaps as he came away with a sack and 2 hurries on that limited workload. Now, moving on, though, to the games in the Sunday window. First of all, the first game of which was the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens did take down the Bengals 27-24 on the road this week, putting them at 2-0 for the start of the season, while the Bengals fell to 0-2 for the second straight year. The Ravens struck first with a 1-yard touchdown run by Gus Edwards midway through the first quarter before the Bengals answered with an 81-yard punt return score from rookie wide receiver Charlie Jones. The teams traded field goals before a second Justin Tucker kick gave the Ravens a 3-point lead at the half. Touchdown passes from Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow led to a 20-17 Ravens lead heading into the final quarter. Jackson found wide receiver Nelson Aguilar to extend Baltimore's lead to 10 early in the fourth quarter, but T. Higgins caught his second touchdown pass of the day to get the Bengals back within 3 points late in the fourth quarter. The Ravens didn't give the ball back after that, though, grinding out the win on the ground. The offensive spotlight, though, because the story of the day was how the Ravens were more efficient than the Bengals, finding success in the passing game and on the ground, where Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, and Lamar Jackson all ran for 40-plus yards. Jackson went 24 of 33 for 237 yards and a pair of touchdowns through the air, averaging 7.2 yards per attempt. Burrow, however, though, completed 27 of 41 passes, but they went for just 222 yards, giving him a 5.4 yards per attempt average. While he did find T. Higgins in the end zone twice for touchdowns, he threw an interception, and Jamar Chase was held to 31 yards on 5 receptions from 7 targets. The defensive spotlight goes to the Ravens, who made plays in the secondary in this one. Safety Geno Stone, who started in place of the injured Marcus Williams, intercepted Burrow, while Ronald Darby, Rock Ya-Sin, and Ardarius Washington all recorded pass breakups. For the Bengals, DJ Reader was a force up front, causing the interior of the Ravens offensive line plenty of problems. Akeem Davis-Gaither, Logan Wilson, and Zach Carter all recorded tackles for a loss. Rookie spotlight, though, goes to Zay Flowers once again. He was fed the football again by the Ravens, seeing 5 targets on 1 rushing attempt. The run went for just 6 yards, but he returned the 5 targets into 4 receptions for 62 yards and showcased his playmaking ability downfield on a 52-yard reception. Next game is the Atlanta Falcons and Green Bay Packers. This one really did surprise me. The Atlanta Falcons stunned the Green Bay Packers with a second half comeback to open the season 2-0, a late field goal pushing them to a 25-24 win, while the Green Bay Packers will fall to 1-1. The Falcons struck first with a 24-yard Younghoe Koo field goal, giving them a 3-0 lead in the first quarter before Jordan Love found Jaden Reed for a 9-yard score early in the second quarter. An Anders Carlson field goal extended the Packers' lead before Desmond Ridder and Drake London connected for a touchdown with 16 seconds left in the first half. It was the Packers who dominated in the third quarter, however, with Jordan Love throwing 2 more touchdown passes, going to Dontavion Wicks and Jaden Reed, But Atlanta scored on a 6-yard Desmond Ridder run to reduce the deficit 24-19, and then made it 24-22 on another field goal by Koo. He finished another drive by the Falcons with less than a minute remaining to put them up 25-24 before 4 straight incompletions by Love sealed the game for the Falcons. The next game that I'm going to get into here is the Seattle Seahawks and Detroit Lions, an overtime thriller on a Sunday afternoon. And in this overtime thriller, the Seattle Seahawks went on the road and defeated the Detroit Lions 37-31, scoring a touchdown on their first possession in overtime. The Seahawks and Lions both go to 1-1 on the season after this game. Not really much to talk about other than the spotlights of this game, which should go to both quarterbacks, but can unfortunately only go to one, and I am awarding it to Geno Smith. Smith finished the game 32 of 41 passing with 328 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions. And the defensive spotlight also goes to another Seahawks player. Sorry, Detroit Lions. It's going to go to Trey Brown. He had the biggest defensive play of the game when he intercepted Goff and returned it for a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Brown also recorded a sack, 2 pass breakups, and a forced fumble, becoming the 23rd player in NFL history to record a fumble, an interception, and a sack all in the same game. The rookie spotlight goes to another Seattle Seahawks player, the 2023 first-round pick, which was cornerback Devin Witherspoon, making his NFL debut this week. He tallied 4 tackles and 1 pass breakup on the day. Although Goff still put up really good numbers, he was 28 of 35 passing, 323 yards, 9.2 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. He had a really nice game today, and it was really, really good, just not good enough to get past the Seattle Seahawks. Next game, the Indianapolis Colts won 31-20 over the Houston Texans. And not really much to talk about other than the defensive spotlight, which was the Colts. The Colts had some good success against C.J. Stroud and the Texans' offense, but it was a shared endeavor. Deo Odeyingbo, I probably butchered that, forced a fumble that was recovered by Kwity Paye on a sack where the pocket collapsed on Stroud from multiple angles. 5 different Colts players recorded multiple quarterback pressures in the game. Kansas City Chiefs 17, Jacksonville Jaguars 9. Now this was a really interesting game. A lot of people expected this to probably be a lot more high scoring because of the game that they had in the divisional round was a little more high scoring than this, but it was still a pretty good game. Travis Kelce returned to the field this week from a knee injury that kept him out in week 1. But he wasn't nearly as productive as he typically is. Kelce only had 9 targets, 4 more than any other Chiefs receiver, but those passes resulted in just 4 catches for 26 yards and a touchdown. He averaged just 1 yard per route, less than half of what he can normally be relied upon to produce. 2 of the incompletions were drops, and 5 of the targets were contested, suggesting this was a hampered version of Kelce that we were seeing. Defensive spotlight goes to Chris Jones being back in action for the first time this season after his holdout ended. And the Chiefs reaped the benefits of that. Jones led the team in pressures and was a problem for the Jaguars where he lined up like all truly great pass rushers, Jones also seemed to come up big in key moments. Earning one of his sacks on a fourth down play from around midfield, Jones is a Defensive Player of the Year level talent, and he showed that immediately. Rookie spotlight goes to tackle Anton Harrison, was the only rookie in this game to be featured in more than a limited role. Harrison, Jacksonville's starting right tackle, played 50 pass blocking snaps in a very one-dimensional game for the Jaguars offense. On first review, he had his fair share of problems over the course of those snaps, though. Buffalo Bills 38, Las Vegas Raiders 10. Allen started hot here, leading 3 touchdown drives in the first half and throwing 2 himself. The Bills didn't take their foot off the gas in the second half, adding 2 more offensive touchdowns to put the Raiders away. Allen finished the day with a near-perfect stat line, going 31 of 37, 274 yards for 3 touchdowns and a 124.5 passer rating. Gabe Davis emerged as Allen's top weapon, totaling 92 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. Davante Adams was the lone bright spot on the Raiders offense as he caught 6 passes for 84 receiving yards and a touchdown. Jimmy Garoppolo was unable to accomplish much through the air without Adams, throwing for just 185 yards and 2 interceptions on the day. Meanwhile, the Raiders' rushing attack wasn't much better as Josh Jacobs specifically ran the ball 9 times for -2 rushing yards. Tennessee Titans 27, Los Angeles Chargers 24. The Chargers' pass rush, led by Joey Bosa, was able to sack Tannehill 5 times for a total loss of 46 yards in this game. Bosa was essentially held off of the stat sheet in Week 1, but it didn't take him long to get himself involved in this one, coming up with 2 sacks on the day. But it wasn't enough for the Titans as they came away with the victory. New York Giants 31, Arizona Cardinals 28. The Giants traveled across country to take on the Arizona Cardinals after an embarrassing 40-0 Week 1 drubbing at the hands of the divisional rival Dallas Cowboys. Through the first half, though, the Giants were down 60-0 on the season. New York slowly but surely battled its way back from the 20-0 deficit, though to win a 31-28 stunner. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones was nearly perfect in the second half, spreading the ball around to half a dozen different pass catchers. Dallas Cowboys 30, New York Jets 10. Not really much to talk about here. Zach Wilson accounted for 3 interceptions and Dalvin Cook fumbled the ball away. Turnovers that proved costly for a Jets offense that was likely to be behind the 8 ball without Aaron Rodgers against the Dallas defense. Wilson averaged 6.3 yards per attempt and had an adjusted completion rate of just 65.2%. Over 65% of his yards came after the catch. San Francisco 49ers 30, Los Angeles Rams 23. The defensive spotlights are on display here for the San Francisco 49ers, but one thing was made abundantly clear. No one in the league has a better run game than the 49ers, and Brock Purdy is that guy. But on to the defensive bright spots. Cornerback Deombador Lenoir had what was an effectively and efficient game-sealing interception of Matt Stafford late in the fourth quarter, deep in Rams territory. Returning the ball to the Rams' 15-yard line, the Niners were able to burn the clock and kick a field goal to make it a 2-possession game. Linebacker Fred Warner was everywhere else, as often is the case, with a sack to go along with 2 defensive stops, 11 total tackles. Warner also had a key forced incompletion over the middle late in the game. Rams linebacker Ernest Jones made a tackle for a loss and added 3 more defensive stops to a league-leading 5 from Week 1. His 8 total stops ranks near the top of the leaderboard through Week 2. Washington Commanders 35, Denver Broncos 33. This game came down to the wire. Although the rookie spotlight, Commanders' first-round rookie cornerback Emmanuel Forbes Jr. had an interception of Russell Wilson late in the third quarter while otherwise blanketing opposing wide receivers, allowing just 1 reception for 5 yards and often lining up opposite of wide receiver Courtland Sutton, who was very quiet until the tail end of the game. Broncos rookie wide receiver, though, Marvin Mims, showed why the team traded up for him in the past year's draft. He flashed his speed downfield and downfield catch ability with 2 receptions for 113 yards, with one going for a 60-yard touchdown over the middle where he was just too much for the safety over the top to handle. This game would obviously go down to the wire. They would start doing a 2-minute, they had the 2-minute drill going and being effective at it, and just with a hurry-up offense inside of 30 seconds left, Russell Wilson threw up a prayer, and it came down, and all they needed was a 2-point conversion. They failed to get it, resulting in a 35-33 win for the Washington Commanders, who moved to 2-0 for the first time since 2011. Miami Dolphins 24, New England Patriots 17 on Sunday Night Football. 1 week after throwing for over 450 yards, Dolphin quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was on it once again. This week he went 21 of 30 for 249 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and only 1 interception. Monday Night Football first game was New Orleans Saints 20, Carolina Panthers 17. And it was just a defensive bright spot here for Carolina Panthers linebacker Frankie Louvu, who was playing some of his best football on Monday night. Not that any of that is out of the ordinary at this point. He finished the game with 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 tackles for a loss. Now here comes probably the most shocking game of the week, not just because of who won it and what the score was, but because of what had happened in the game itself. And I'm obviously talking about the Cleveland Browns taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. And it's just really hard for me to talk about, especially since I have Nick Chubb in fantasy. They were looking to improve to 2-0 on the season in the vaunted AFC North. Before we dive into the data, I would like to send my best wishes to Browns running back Nick Chubb, who took a hit on the knee down near the goal line and suffered an injury that looks to be season-ending at the very least. Until then, Chubb was his usual dominant self, racking up 64 rushing yards on 10 carries and several totes where he just pushed a pile of defenders for several yards back with stiff arms. It was a wild game featuring 5 fumbles, 2 interceptions, 8 sacks, and it was one of the uglier battles of the 2023 season so far. But the Steelers ultimately emerged victorious with a 26-22 win, not forgetting the fact that there was a questionable holding no call late in the fourth quarter. But the offensive bright spot for the Browns was backup running back Jerome Ford. A 5th-round pick in 2022 out of Cincinnati figures to have a prominent role in the offense going forward, even if Cleveland looks to add help from the outside the building. Ford broke off a 69-yard run that caught the Browns down to the 1-yard line, where the Cleveland's 3rd running back, Pierre Strong Jr., was able to punch it in for a score. Steelers' 2nd-year wide receiver George Pickens had a few explosive receptions, none more explosive than the 71-yard catch-and-run touchdown where he was simply too fast for anyone to keep up, though there did not appear to be much safety help over the top. Defensive spotlight, though, compared to last year, the Browns' revamped defensive front had remarkably different results against the run, though, through 2 games. Cleveland allowed the 5th most expected points per rush in the NFL in 2022, ranking in the bottom 10 in tackles for loss or no gain against the run, and top 10 in missed tackles against the run. In the first half, Pittsburgh took 7 carries for 2 yards, and Cleveland had 5 tackles for a loss and no gain. Pittsburgh finished with 57 rushing yards on 19 carries, with more rushing yards after contact than total rushing yards, a trend that has carried over from 2022 despite an upgrade at offensive line. Steelers edge rushers TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith wreaked havoc all night long. Watt continued his dominant start to the 2023 season with a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, a fumble returned for a touchdown. Highsmith had a pick 6 on the first play of the game and had the sacked fumble that Watt took to the house. Interior defender Larry Ogunjobi also forced a fumble from Deshaun Watson, and linebacker Cole Holcomb forced a fumble from tight end David Njoku. The Browns truly fumbled this game away. Rookie spotlight, though, goes to Browns rookie right tackle DeJuan Jones, he had his hands full all night with TJ Watt, with the Browns eventually providing chip help from running backs, tight ends, and wide receiver David Bell late in the game. Steelers rookie interior defender, though, Keanu Benton, and edge rusher Nick Herbig both contributed 2 tackles. Rookie cornerback Joey Porter Jr. was sticky in coverage on the final 4th and 10 heave from Cleveland that flew out of bounds. And while one could argue defensive pass interference was warranted, it wasn't called, and that was all she wrote. And that was all the games from week 2, in the NFL. I'll be back next week with the week 3 coverage. This one was a little long because I wanted to go a little more in depth about the games compared to last week and try to take my time with it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you are new to the channel, please click like, share, and subscribe if you are new. Tap the bell to get over post notifications. If you want to see gaming content, go to our old channel, Halo Game Night 247, link in the description. This has been Russ with Epic Pwnage Gaming News, and I will see you next week.